Why the
frick?
You lying? Why you always lying?
What is the strangest lie someone ever told you? A classmate of mine a while ago once told me that he spent the night in Chuck E. Cheese and the animatronics came to life. He said the next night he brought a Glock that he just happened to have and shot all of the animatronics and he barely escaped with his life. As he was telling this, I just sat there quietly. He must have played too much Five Nights at Freddy's.
Why you always lying?
That lesbian means pretty girl. Now, as a gullible, stupid, slightly vain second grader, I immediately said, I think I'm a lesbian. Were you right though? No.
Why you always lying?
A girl I went to boarding school with, we actually even shared a bedroom, told another classmate years later that she used to be addicted to heroin while she went to boarding school with us, and when he didn't believe her at first, she told him that I had caught her once while injecting heroin and how shocked I was seeing her doing it etc. Which obviously never happened. Although this lie wasn't told to me, it's still the most ripped up lie I've ever heard. Why would she claim she used drugs? Honestly, IDK. She also always made up illnesses. Like that one time she went to the doctor because her stomach hurt. When she came back a few hours later, I asked her if she's fine and she was like, oh, you won't believe it. He actually found a tumor in my stomach, but I was lucky and it was just a small one, so he just took it out like, yay, I don't.
Why you always lying?
Kid in my high school said he used to live next to a volcano and he once picked up a rock that had lava inside, and it burned through the palm of his hand. When we pointed out he had no scar on his hand, he responded with a ha. That's weird. I love that that was his response. Not trying to backtrack, not digging himself deeper, just a simple ha. That's weird. I'll have to keep this in mind for the next time I tell an outrageous lie.
Why you always lying?
I had a 6th grade crush on a guy who liked me back. One day, he lied to me and told me he was Jewish. He wasn't. He was evangelical Christian, but I didn't know that at the time. A couple months later I was making Christmas cards for the class, but because I still thought he was Jewish, I made him a Happy Hanukkah card. This got confusing for him because he apparently forgot he lied to me about it. So he gave me a really weird look when I handed him his Hanukkah card after everyone else was getting Christmas cards, and didn't talk to me for a while. I was 12 when this happened. It's been 20 years and I still don't understand why he told me he was Jewish. It was because he was the boyfriend you wish to have.
Why you always lying?
Some guy told me that he got T-boned at 100 miles per hour in a 35 zone, and that he reached across the seat as it was happening and stopped the door from caving in and crushing this girl he was with. This guy was in his early 20s, and not immediately impaired. Was his skin pale and ice cold? Did it sparkle in the sunlight? Don't laugh at this man. He is just an undercover Superman. He could save your life too.
Why you always lying?
That her mom died giving birth to her even though her mom was still alive, but they were estranged. That was probably wishful thinking on her part. Batman would be crying if he read this.
Why you always lying?
My father somehow convinced me that brown UPS delivery trucks were called broccoli trucks. No, they didn't deliver broccoli. They delivered packages. No, they were not associated with broccoli in any way at all. So why were they called broccoli trucks? Dang it. And if I know. Dad logic. I learned the truth about things far later than I should have. In middle school, actually, when I offhandedly remarked that I'd seen a broccoli truck in the parking lot. My teacher overheard me and asked me to point it out, then gave me a look of skeptical confusion when I indicated the UPS truck. That was the moment when I realized my dad might have made up the whole broccoli truck bit. I wound up trying to explain that it was a family tradition to refer to delivery vehicles by odd names, but everything I said only seemed to make my teacher grow more suspicious. Upon hearing the story from me, my father did a very poor job of restraining his laughter. Too long didn't read. Broccoli trucks do not exist.
Why you always lying?
That they've been struck by lightning 3 times. A friend of mine has been struck twice. Sort of. Once while running through a cornfield. He blacked out. And once while driving. It shut off all electrical systems in his car. The second one was really just his car getting hit. But it's still pretty unlikely.
Why you always lying?
In high school, a girl claimed her ex-boyfriend was in the military and he had arranged for a sniper to watch over her. If you messed with her, she'd signal the sniper and bang, you're dead. My high school girlfriend also told me this story, but it was one of her brother's friends. 247 protection, always lurking in the shadows, and if she felt threatened she just had to shout her brother's name. I have no idea why I believed her.
Why you always lying?
When I was a kid, like grade 2, a classmate was adamant his dad had fought in both world wars. Even 7-year-old me called bullshit on his punk butt. I'm not the smartest mathematician, but even I could add that up. My dad had a big scar on his leg, and when I asked where it was from, he told me he'd gotten shot in the Falklands War. I believed him for about 14 years until I found out he got the scar from attempting to break into London Zoo at night time when he was drunk with his brothers and impaled himself on a railing. Your dad sounds like a fun guy.
Why you always lying?
One of my best friends told our friend circle about a girl that he started dating just to tell us that she died. He kept up that lie for about a year until he finally admitted that she never existed to begin with. She must have died from the sniper set up on that other girl's house.
Why you always lying?
My coworker told me this crazy story that he wouldn't admit was a lie. According to him, he had a girlfriend in 7th grade that had financial problems. When the girl moved to California, my coworker claimed he set her up with the West Side Crips. He said he helped run the gang, LOL, so she could get some money. He also said that he had sex and impregnated her. Unfortunately for him, his pregnant girlfriend got in a car crash and freaking died. He said he tried to take a trip to California to see her one last time before she died, but his parents wouldn't let him. When me and my other coworker asked for the name of the girl, he didn't remember. Whenever my other coworkers called him out on his BS, he always stuck to the story. Keep in mind, according to him, this whole thing happened in 7th grade. Yup. Crips have 13-year-olds running gangs. Obviously. If you are enjoying this video, feel free to like it and subscribe. My brother-in-law is an habitual liar. You can never believe anything he says. One day after he and his wife took a weekend 3-day vacation, he told a bunch of us at work that he and his wife had sex 56 times in those 3 days. Maybe he meant he had sex 56 times and his wife was present at least once. The rest were solo missions.
Why you always lying?
She told our freshman class that she was born in France and had a red birth certificate. She was always trying to convince people she wasn't from the States. She was my cousin and she definitely was not born in France. Rather a super southern swamp town in Louisiana.
Why you always lying?
That he was a big drug supplier to his frat college and he almost got some guy killed for screwing him over but decided to show mercy and let him go. That some girl accused him of stalking her because he declined to go on a date with her. That he was volunteering with the homeless. Turns out he was a poser and a legitimate stalkery dude. The last one was true, but he neglected to mention he was doing it for community service for threatening a woman. I could barf when I think of him.
Why you always lying?
That if you get a diploma you are guaranteed a job. I was told this throughout my life but did not realize it to be a lie until 1 year of college. Oof.
Why you always lying?
Edit. I realize I'm the liar on this one, but that guy got a ridiculous lie. I pretended to not speak very good English once. I'm a native English speaker, because someone very chatty was trying to talk to everyone in the park. Just going from bench to bench while I was having my lunch. And I didn't want to talk to them. That wasn't enough for them though, and they tried to speak with me in gestures as well. So my bad English became total foreign sounding. Hopefully, gibberish. The best part is that I was with a friend when this happened and it happened organically with no prior arrangement between us, but we both played along convincingly enough that he left us alone eventually.
Why you always lying?
One of the best ones is when a friend of mine from college told me his uncle has a zombie apocalypse survival car with shotguns behind the headlights, which, you know, defeats a lot of the purpose of a car. He also told me he could squat twice his body weight, but could never prove it. He kept saying it though. This dude was a serial liar, but a really good friend. My other friends and I would have competitions to see who could get him to say the most ridiculous lie. I'm pretty sure he caught on at some point, but it was a fun game.
Why you always lying?
She was actually rich and only lived in the trailer park because her family was wanted by the FBI. I think I saw her last month. Homeless with a guy. She wouldn't talk to me. Broke my heart. Can't be sure about her circumstances, but don't do meth. kids.
Why you always lying?
When I was 19, my dad moved from CA to NC, but told me he was just going on vacation to NY. We knew he had moved because the woman he was moving to be with had emailed my mom. He would call me and tell me all about his NY trip and ask what kind of souvenirs I wanted. I guess he was just used to lying to me my whole life, but definitely was an idiotic choice once I was a full-blown adult and clearly knew he wouldn't be coming back from vacation.
Why you always lying?
A friend I had in elementary school through high school once told me she was kidnapped by a gang and they put a diamond in her arm. There was no follow-up on that. I knew she was lying, but I wanted to see where it would go. Unfortunately, she just left it at that, and a few years later when I brought it up, she denied it.
Why you always lying?
I lived with a girl in college who said that in high school she worked with the Department of Defense, Homeland Security, in their cyber department. Her boyfriend, who never once visited, but she always had drama with, according to her, was an astronaut, LMFAO, with the highest tier security clearance. During finals that semester, she claimed that she couldn't do her schoolwork because her old boss from DOD called her and needed her to work on a super important and urgent project. I couldn't make this stuff up.
Why you always lying?
My friend showed me this song, then proceeded to explain how him and his older brother had wrote and recorded it. It was techno. Went home, googled it, confronted him. He didn't have an answer for why he lied to me. 3-year relationship ruined because if he lies to me about something so stupid and inconsequential, what else is he going to lie to me about?
Why you always lying?
If you swallow gum, it gets attached to your lungs. So when you breathe it gets inflated. If it gets filled too much you start to float.
Why you always lying?
In high school I had a boyfriend who told me that he couldn't hang out with me later that day because he was at a Blue Angels show and all the planes crashed, so he was stranded in a field among the rubble. Obviously that's extremely Googleable information, and a quick search of the news determined that was a lie. It was such a crazy and extreme excuse to avoid me that I broke up with him.
Why you always lying?
I was a security guard for a while and was trading stories with a guard from another company at a big event. He went into extreme detail about this paranormal experience he had out at a college. However, the story he told me was an exact retelling of an episode of Ghost Hunters or one of those shows. This was 2006. My parents and I had seen during a visit. He claimed it all happened to him. I called him out on it. He just stared at me for a second, put his head down and walked off. Who does this?
Why you always lying?
One kid convinced me that he's from the future, and told me that throwing eggs at each other will be a holiday.
Why you always lying?
You know how sometimes you make eye contact with a stranger, and then you're like, oh dang flab it, pack your bags, here we go? Well, there I was, minding my own business eating lunch at a Taco Bell with some friends when I look up. I gaze around the room and dang flab it, I tried to look away but combs. Dude just walks up to the table and starts telling me how he was in the army but just had to get out, but they wouldn't let him and nothing was working until one day he got in a cardboard box and mailed himself somewhere else. The story went on for some time but I got stuck considering the logistics of this particular point. I can't, obviously, prove this was a lie, but it seems like a strong contender.
Why you always lying?
Masturbating makes your dick microscopic, and he was the biology teacher. Maybe that was his excuse.
Why you always lying?
That a fat man in red gives free stuff away every year if you're good.
Why you always lying?
I was friends with a girl in 7th grade who was a compulsive liar. She told me she was in the hospital and stopped breathing and her boyfriend came to the hospital, kissed her, bringing the life back into her. If you're gonna rip off a romance story as fact, try not going the route of Snow White Sleeping Beauty. It's a tale as old as time.
Oh my god, stop
Freaking
lying.
ha 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 he ho ha. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like it and subscribe. Or don't, I'm not your boss.